Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and it has finally happened! Obsidian's brand new RPG has been announced, and as expected, here is my in-depth analysis breaking down every bit of detail within this awesome trailer. I cannot wait for this game, so let's just get right into it. Now, a lot happens incredibly fast in the beginning of this trailer. We see an older gentleman sprinting through a spaceship, rushing to the player character and making sure that they are all right. Now, in order to properly understand what's going on here, we need to fill in the blanks on the general premise of what the Outer Worlds is. The way I did this was by heading to outerworlds.obsidian.net, which I will have linked in the description down below, and read what is pretty much the general plot summary for this game. The Outer Worlds is a new single-player first-person sci-fi RPG from Obsidian Entertainment and Private Division. Lost in transit while on a colonist ship bound for the furthest edge of the galaxy, you awake decades later only to find yourself in the midst of a deep conspiracy threatening to destroy the Halcyon colony. As you explore the furthest reaches of space and encounter various factions all vying for power, the player you decide to become will determine how this player-driven story unfolds. In the corporate equation for the colony, you are the unplanned variable. So likely the beginning of this entire summary is what fills in a lot of gaps for folks, because now we know this older gentleman is sprinting through that colonist ship that is bound for the furthest edge of the galaxy. Steam says Halcyon is on the edge of the galaxy, but it says you awake decades later only to find yourself in the midst of a deep conspiracy threatening said colony. That's in the next shot here. We know that we're awakening from one of the pods because we can see those same doors stowed away on the ship now opening right in front of us. Within these next two shots, I made a handful of observations. It starts off when we're still inside this pod. I noticed on the top left corner of the screen there was a computer that was not there when the older gentleman was still addressing us. I also noticed that it was flickering, which I felt indicated some bit of a crash landing, which is further supported when you see the doors open, and while it's beautiful, we're out in the middle of nowhere. On top of that, when you look beneath us, we're in some type of pond. It necessarily doesn't look like a spot we'd select to land, but what's more important about all of this is when that pod opens and we see how beautiful this game looks from a color standpoint. Obsidian's made great games in the past, but they've never been graphical standouts. I believe this is the richest color palette they have ever had in a video game. You see red, you see green, you see yellow, you see white. It's all there. They're making a full use of the color palette. I'm big on color, and I love that they're doing this here. What's also bold is the first time we're really seeing the game world is at night, but the way that they fight off the bad graphics that usually plague games at nighttime is through illuminating the sky with tons of stars, a planet in the backdrop, red trees in the foreground. A lot of artistic design was put into this particular shot when the player is first introduced into the world, and I think that's very important to note, because then you see the next scene, which is during the daytime, and the game still looks great because of its use of color, but as we can tell, the planets in the background that are in space aren't really playing as big of a role in illuminating and filling up space on screen. What also stuck out to me is we can get a good look at the colony on the right side of the screen, so maybe this is an aerial view just above where we had actually landed, and the player has to make their way into the colony before anything else. We're gonna be all over the place in this trailer breakdown. Now we gotta flip back to the plot summary. So if you remember, all factions are vying for power here. In the corporate equation for the colony, you are the unplanned variable. All these corporations got a game plan to take over the Halcyon colony, and they do not know you, the player, are gonna come in and choice and consequence it up. So what does that have to do with everything? Now we're getting introduced to the corporations that are trying to take over. We have Spacer's Choice, Anti-Cleos, and Vulcan, which we can all easily deduct what they're doing through the way they're introduced into this world. It seems like Spacer's Choice is a weapon manufacturer as well as an employment center. The way that's supported is we can see in the trailer here that this Edgewater place is an employment and community center. Whereas when we look at the concept art before this game was revealed, there was a space-based weapon and they called it Spacer's Choice. The reason it's important to distinctly mention that this is a weapon manufacturer potentially is because when we look at Vulcan, well, it's written there plain as day. There's no need for speculation. Vulcan, armor-piercing premium cartridges. When you need ammo in this game, where are you gonna go? Vulcan. So then what is Anti-Cleos? I believe if we have a weapon manufacturer, an ammo manufacturer, based off the pre-trailer concept art, I feel Auntie Cleo is going to be the one that provides us healing supplies, self-care supply. But what Auntie Cleo's screenshot does tell us is the currency in the Outer Worlds, which goes by the name of bits. We can see a billboard in the background that says the Dissident Hunter, and then it's blocked off by a box, but it says only 2 bits. When we look around the district where the Edgewater building is, we can see a cantina, a barber shop. The cantina is labeled with pool, smokes, and beer, so I do hope there are mini games we can partake in. If we can see our character in game, I wonder if the player can make use of the barber shop. And then we get a ground level view of that very same community space. We see a general store for Spacer's Choice and that same cantina, also labeled as Spacer's Choice. So I wonder if as you start siding with one faction or another, or maybe you go about it your own way, that you're not able to access the other stores where maybe you'll have the best healing supplies or ammunition if you side with either Auntie Cleo or Vulcans, but maybe Spacer's Choice gives you access to everything because we're seeing a general store right in front of us. So I do wonder what's within that. But when you really start to piece it all together, this colony isn't gigantic to say the least. We see Auntie Cleo, and then right behind her is a competitor, Vulcan. Furthermore, when you look at the Auntie Cleo screenshot, we see that concept art as well as a Spacer's Choice sign all the way in the backdrop, but it's not too far away. So all these corporations are on top of each other, which further supports the plot that they're going to try their best to get rid of one another, eliminate competition, and establish a monopoly. Another bit of speculation that can pop up is, since we have Auntie Cleo in vending machines popping out what I'd imagine is healing supplies, a general store from Spacer's Choice, how exactly is Vulcans occupying the marketplace? Where is their place? Because we've seen a storefront for everyone but them, just advertisements. Back to this fine gentleman on the spaceship. I told you, this trailer goes all over the place and I love it. So, this part is very important for us to hear some audio. Let's take a listen.
And the rest of your fellow settlers? Abandoned on the edge of the colony. I'd save them myself, but the board's got a bounty on my head.
As explained by that fine character, pretty much you were the only one he could save. All the other settlers are stuck on the edge of the galaxy. Now I imagine, based on Obsidian's history, if you're a good guy, you can probably make your way to them and save them, or you can screw them over, just leave them, whatever, doesn't matter, personal gain. But once again, these are important plot details being filled in based off the summary, and now we have context with the visuals happening on screen. The narrator, we'll call him, also mentions that he has bounty hunters on his tail. I've seen some speculation circulating that the characters shown afterwards are the player character in different outfits with different weapons, but that's just not the case for 2 reasons. Number 1 is we see 3 models with the same exact armor and weapons inspecting what I believe is a dead body, which means that's obviously not the player character. And furthermore, the audio and the visuals sync up in the trailer when he's talking about the bounty hunters versus when he says, "You look more than capable," and they show this fine person right here, which is likely our character in an outfit that they are wearing when they exit the pod. The reason I think this is the outfit they're wearing when they exit the pod is because of the hose on the left that's still connected to the left shoulder, and also the hope symbol in the back center, which likely means that this colonist ship that was heading to the edge of the galaxy was a part of some program to maybe restore faith in humanity, maybe humanity's last-ditch effort, something along those lines. Or maybe it's determined based off the character you play as. Can't say I'm entirely sure, but these are all just ideas coming from the brain. Our first bit of shooting gameplay in the Outer Worlds. This is likely the bit that I think will leave some folks skeptical, because Obsidian creates incredible role-playing experiences, but when you look at the likes of Fallout New Vegas or Alpha Protocol, they're not the best shooters. One thing I noticed immediately when the shooting did begin was upon damage being dealt, little numbers would pop up indicating how much damage was done to the enemy. This is a mechanic that's really risen in popularity over the years, and I've noticed it in the likes of Destiny or Borderlands, titles that involve a lot of weapon swapping and exposing enemy weaknesses with specific weapon types, which is a gameplay loop I've never been against. I also want to point out some of the enemy types. We see some type of droid when we're using a minigun on them, compared to the astounding particle effects from what seems to be some type of laser blast to yet another droid, and it also seems there's some type of security guard on the right side. But don't worry, just because we're shooting robots doesn't mean there aren't NPCs. More weapons. Now our player character is electrocuting a droid with a new weapon. Sitting atop the weapon is a logo, which I went back throughout the entire trailer and I could not find this logo anywhere, so perhaps this is one of the corporations that we are yet to become acquainted with. But still, this kind of highlights what I was talking about earlier, targeting enemy weaknesses. But maybe guns aren't your speed. You may be like me, you like your melee builds. Well, fret not, Obsidian has you covered. Yes, there are melee weapons. This one kind of looks like a combat axe of some kind, but the glowing edge on the inside reminds me of a scythe. What I think we also need to appreciate here is some of the environmental diversity, because with the lights draped across from side to side, it almost reminds me of little lamplight from Fallout 3, and as if we're in some type of cave setting, but we can clearly see the sky and the little crack in the background, and also these seem to be trees in front of us. Seemingly, this is civilization considering we have NPCs scattered about and a building as well. But now for easily my favorite part of the trailer, okay? They showed off choice and consequence. Only the truest of true RPG game devs think it's cool enough to show off. Most trailers want to show off the sizzling combat and all of the dramatic one-liners, but Obsidian wants to show you what happens when you make a choice, and they deliver it with some satire by saying, hey, you didn't even have to shoot anyone at all. So it puts the choices in players' hands. I love it. Please continue to emphasize this. Please continue to show it off and convince people that role-playing games with true choice and consequence can sell and excite fans. Now it's really starting to get popping, because we see what I think Obsidian is hinting at is us getting our own spaceship at some point. Some may feel that we see that in the following shot, but neither of these spaceships are our own. There is a similar engine type on the spaceship on the right because it has the two barrels on the top, but if we go back to the original picture of what I believe is going to be our own spaceship, we don't see the bottom two barrels, and also the ship that was on the right side is more rectangular in shape. Furthermore, I think it's trying to indicate that the narrator, we'll continue to call him, will be the one piloting the ship that we see in the screenshot here where we're in space. Now, why do I believe that this one here is actually our spaceship? Because afterwards, we start seeing diverse locations and creatures that were not shown off in any way, shape, or form in the beginning of the trailer. The beginning of the trailer was sort of to sell the premise of the game. Choice and consequence, corporations are trying to take over, why you're here, what you're doing, and now they're showing, well, the outer worlds, right? I believe we're going to be able to go to multiple planets, not just be on one single colony. I think the colony is only the start of it all. And we see some truly terrifying looking creatures, which can highlight one mechanic coming into the outer worlds. According to the Steam page, you can be flawed in a good way. New to the Outer Worlds is the idea of flaws. A compelling hero is made by the flaws they carry with them. While playing the Outer Worlds, the game tracks your experience to find what you aren't particularly good at. Keep getting attacked by Raptidons? Taking the Raptidon flaw gives you a debuff when confronting the vicious creatures, but rewards you with an additional character perk immediately. This optional approach to the game helps you build the character you want while exploring Halcyon. So these could be the Raptidons that they are actually talking about. But also, if I get killed by these a bunch, the game kind of punishes and rewards me at the same time. Maybe the same could be said for flying, shooting, melee attacks. The more I shoot, does that mean the worse I get at melee? I love this idea because this is something I actually highlighted in my review for Shadow of the Tomb Raider this year, where I said that Lara was a great character because she was very flawed. There were so many glaring flaws about her, but they were humanizing glaring flaws that made me more interested in her as a character. To have a RPG where it's me putting myself in the game world, and now they have a system tied to flaws that helps build our character, I'm sold. I was already sold, but you sold me more somehow, Obsidian. You did it. I don't know. Time for a look at what the conversation system will be like without the HUD and some important characters, I imagine, for this story. We have Burke first. How do I know this is Burke? If you go to the Steam page, it's a goldmine, man, I swear. You'll see that there is a conversation photo there, and this same character's name is Burke. We can see some dialogue options very reminiscent of Fallout New Vegas, and I'm trying to contain my hype here, but I don't think think I can, man. Are you kidding? This is what we are all looking for. Intimidate 20. You're gonna have to do something about it. I meant no offense, just trying to lighten the situation with a little humor. I've had enough of your nonsense. You can attack him. Dude, choice, consequence. Yes, but anyway, here are some other close-ups of characters. We do not know their names yet, but like I said, it's just to get a feel of what the conversation system is going to look like. Very reminiscent of Fallout New Vegas. You get a close-up on the character's face, you have some great choices there, some great dialogue, and the game goes in whatever direction you please. I'll take it any day of the week. Let's go! Now, let's wrap up the final details of the Outer Worlds official announcement trailer. First, we see some more mutant types, a spider-like creature. We also see a chameleon-like creature. I love the enemy variety, the environmental variety, and also, as we'll see here in some of these final shots, the weapon variety, a shock baton. Also, it's confirmed it is a scythe. I missed that in the initial editing process. On top of that, we also have some type of laser rifle. This game has so much variety compared to any other Obsidian game I have seen visually, aesthetically, and also sheer variety in models. I am so jazzed about. Furthermore, it is confirmed there is a day to night cycle in this game, so it's going to be a dynamically moving world. That's very important to have. It's a lot of moving parts for Obsidian when you also account for choice and consequence, so this is something that should be recognized. We can also see enemies have different attacks. Some may be concerned there were a lot of robots in the beginning, but don't worry, these mutants will give you a tough time. This one's throwing a giant rock at your face. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. The Outer Worlds coming in 2019 to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. There was some concern that this would be exclusive to the Xbox. I was wrong. I thought it actually would be. I thought this is why Microsoft would buy this studio out, but it seems they have other plans for the future. I mean, perhaps there's exclusive content coming. I don't want to speculate too much on that behalf, but anyway, that is it. The in-depth analysis for the Outer Worlds. I am so excited. You guys can expect a flurry of content on this game. I don't remember the last time I was so optimistic and happy that a game existed like the Outer Worlds. I love Obsidian to death. They have never let me down. The Outer Worlds truly is their most ambitious looking project, and I am so excited to see more about this game. 2019 cannot come soon enough. That'll do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this analysis in the comments down below. Did I miss any little details that you want to fire away with down there? Go ahead. What are your thoughts on the Outer Worlds? Let me know. Let Obsidian hear your passion, your excitement. And I'll catch you guys later. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.